everybody. Time is flying. Is it working? Is it on? Switch to this. Hello, DCD. Oh, let me change my bleeps and bloops. Looks like YouTube's going. All right. I have knock-on confirmation. DCD is typing. I do always have it on the slow delay so that I can get cranked up your volume just a bit. I'm still quiet. I don't get why I'm. I've had other people say I'm quiet, but I don't know why that is. On my OBS, I'm like in the red pretty regularly, so I'm not sure why. Let's get started. Hello, everybody. My name is Scott. I work on CircuitPython for Adafruit. CircuitPython is a version of Python designed for little tiny computers called microcontrollers. Let me decide what to show. Okay, so here we have a clue. This is a board that Adafruit produces, and it's got, I think I showed this last week too, now that I'm doing this. Underneath this little metal canister here is a chip that's a all-in-one computer, runs the whole thing, including some sensors on the back here, buttons on the front, and then these are connections you can expand out. So CircuitPython runs on this board and a lot of other boards, so that it makes it really easy to program. Adafruit, open source hardware and software company out of New York. What does that mean? For example, this board here, you can look at all of the design files, the schematic and the PC board layout. If you wanted to take it and make it your own or just understand the way it works, that's all open. And then the software that you run on here, CircuitPython, Arduino, is also open source. And Adafruit makes sure that you have kind of examples and drivers for all the stuff that's on there. So that's what Adafruit does. So if you want to support me, go to adafruit.com. I'm remembering just now that we have a sale. This is the last day of the sale for this week. There's an LED sale. I know there was a picture for it, but I don't actually have it. I'll go to my desktop. So it says, at the top it says LED sale week is here. I think this is the last day, it's the end of the week. But these are a bunch of different LED related things that are on sale if you're interested. So check that out. These support me and all the other folks that get paid by Adafruit to both work on CircuitPython and do also all sorts of other cool things. So what am I up to? Well, this is a deep dive. It's about an hour long on Fridays that I do, where I talk about what I've been working on and answer questions if folks have them. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. It's usually at 2 p.m. Pacific, goes for an hour, 2 to 3 or so. But I have a parent-teacher conference at 3 for my eldest. So I have to get out of here at 2:30 so I can walk over to daycare and do that. So we'll go till about 2:30. If you're watching this after the fact, it doesn't matter to you. And then the other last thing of housekeeping is next week I am out of town. So I've asked Tim, aka Foamy Guy, to do a deep dive next week. So Tim said he could do that. So thank you, Tim, and stop by 2 p.m. Pacific next week to see what Foamy Guy's working on. He's been doing lots of cool things, including he was just working on anti-aliased font support in CircuitPython. So I had previously added this LV font.io, which is LVGL font format kind of designed for microcontrollers. I added support for that to CircuitPython, and it has the ability of actually storing anti-aliasing. And so Tim has been playing around with that and getting that working, both through the library, which I think he has working, and then the native support is broken a little bit, and I think he's fixing it. So maybe he'll cover that next week. I'm not sure. It's up to him. So any questions before we get started? before I get into anything. I do have a few things, a few balls I'm juggling. As I've been talking about, I've been really experimenting with using large language models to help me do the tedious parts of coding, I guess is how I would say it. And it's also a great way to experiment. So I have some ideas and I kind of want to feel it out. Sometimes I'll just say, okay, go off and do that and come back to me. So up in the top left, this is a relatively new addition, but these are my different, I have different virtual desktops now for different work trees for CircuitPython. So I've got this newest one is called Tiny Bytes, and I'm really, the temptation with LLM-based coding for me as somebody who has lots of ideas is that I could just say, oh, do this, oh, do that, oh, do this, oh, do that. And like the bottleneck is not getting the code. The bottleneck is actually looking at the code. And I'm trying to be much more disciplined about like not getting into that until I have the time to do the follow-up. In fact, I have a couple like hobby projects that I've done that and just not even looked at. I did like some LLVM linker changes that I've always wanted to do. Looked at the tests, they look plausible, but I've not actually tested it. So yeah, it's a different bottleneck, it's a different world. So I'm trying to do this. I had 3 and now I have kind of 4 different kind of things I'm working on for CircuitPython, and I'm trying to keep them small. So for example, in Tiny Bytes right now, I've got, I'm trying to get Zephyr updated. So I was talking with Dan about this, and one of the things I tried to do is USB IP. So USB IP is a technology that has been around a while in the Linux kernel that allows you to basically tunnel low-level USB packets over a TCP/IP connection. And there's a couple places that's used. One is in VMs, so to get USB devices into a virtual machine, you can use USB IP. But also, if you're wanting to get a keyboard and mouse to a machine that's remote, or any other USB device that's remote, you can use USB IP to do that as well. So I wanted to do that for CircuitPython so I could test CircuitPython USB without the Linux kernel being involved, because whenever I try to do USB-based testing, I end up crashing the Linux kernel because we have like devices that are not well written sometimes, not well behaved sometimes, like if we have a bug. And so being able to keep our USB testing isolated from the host machine is like really great. But what I realized as I've been doing more Zephyr work and I've been starting to upstream is that I'm not using the latest version, and that's weird. That one means if I feel like I have to fix something in Zephyr, I don't know whether it's already been fixed. That's still quite true because they have a lot of open PRs, but also it's still better if I'm running off main. So in Tiny Bytes, I'm updating to main, and I actually just want to commit it because I think it's ready to go. So I'm just going to say git commit. This is the tests, so we now have like more and more tests that we're doing for Zephyr. So we can see that we have bsim is the BLE simulator. So we do BLE advertising scanning. We can do basic tests like printing out hello world and control seeing in different places and testing the reload, digital in and out. I2C scanning, including an emulated device, checking for an empty scan, testing rotary I/O. So we merged in rotary I/O support this week, and web workflow. So host networking is merged in as well. So it's great. I did the update to new Zephyr. I had some bugs. I had the LLM fix the bugs. I looked at the way they fixed it. And now I'm trying to commit it, and I want to get it up. So I'm going to say start tracking Zephyr main. Main is still quite stable, but has the latest hardware. It was funny, I was talking to Dan and bug fixes. I was talking to Dan about this, and he found a thing from Espresso in their docs that said, we think that Zephyr version numbers are a weak notion of being stable. Like they recommend just being on latest main for Espresso support, which is great because I would love to move us off the IDF into the Zephyr, but I suspect that will be the last port to go to Zephyr land, at least completely. So I'm just gonna push this now. I want to get it going. And then I'll quickly show you what are on my other desktops. But first, I want to just make this a draft PR. I'm really trying to do small changes. Part of the reason to do small changes is because I'm working in more parallel. When I was talking to Dan earlier, I compared it to like, I'm no longer having a stack of things I'm working on. I'm actually trying to run in parallel now. Like the computer analogy of what I do. Like I have 3 threads that are kind of always going, 3 or 4 threads that are always going. And because it's easier to make them interdependent, it's even more important to keep them. So because the CI might fail, I'm just gonna do draft pull requests. So we'll see. We'll kick that off and go. I have not seen any questions. I've only seen 2 folks say hi, DCD and Tyeth, so hello. What do I have in left field? I think left field, let me move my thing. Oh, I should also say, what do you think of my new setup? Oh, and now OBS is gone. Let me put OBS on all desktops. So in left field, I did async IO. So somebody has come along to Zephyr and said, hey, like I'd love to add async I²C. And I was like, what would it take to actually do that? And I asked I asked Pi to tell me how it was implemented. Because I thought, and I think this is true, that you can be async compatible basically by returning a coroutine. But this gave me a good summary that seems plausible. Like, oh, I need to compile an async statement, then you need to set these flags, that sort of thing. So this is a thread I might start pulling because somebody's interested in it. I'd love to see native async IO support in CircuitPython APIs. Right now, what we would do is we would have them alongside the normal APIs, but so that's what I was experimenting with here. This work tree, I was also experimenting with USB IP. I think maybe next week I will try Ethernet instead, because now host networking is checked in. Ethernet may not be too much more of a lift, and that would be cool. I've also got some more dev boards I've ordered from DigiKey. They come next Wednesday, supposedly. So I'll be adding support for those as well. On this desktop, on the YOLO, which I originally made just to like let it run and see what happens. So this is like when I was getting into the agent coding thing. That's why I called it YOLO. Is I'm trying to add BLE central support. So adding the ability to connect. I got it quite far and somehow it's broken. So I've got to figure out why it's broken, but I broke it as I was like tweaking it to be exactly what I wanted, or closer to what I wanted. I still think of the LLM output as a first draft, but it's a helpful first draft because sometimes that first draft has a lot of changes in it. And then the thing that I thought we'd talk about more today is in my OG, my original thing here, and this is going to be way too small, but I was doing 4 different things, and I'll close some of them, is that I actually have the overhead. So I'm working on display support. Display support is kind of interesting. Well, it is interesting because displays are a big part of what we do. Let's see, overhead doesn't work. Let me see if I can fix it. Nope. Well, my overhead worked for show and tell, but it doesn't look like it's working today. That's okay. I don't need it. Anyway, I've got a couple boards. I'll just show you them. So this is an old, and I think they are quite old. If you didn't realize it already, I'm a collector of development kits, especially when they're cheaply priced. If I could spend $20 or $30 on DigiKey to get a new chip, I might. I probably will. So this is a STM32H750. When you mentioned Pi, could you explain it more? Probably my coding agent. If you do pi.dev, is that the context? Oops. What is my command? Terminal-based coding agent. So yeah, it uses another LLM under the hood, and I'm using codecs for it. But yeah, it's a funny story. Supposedly they named it Pi so that you wouldn't be able to find it because they didn't really want to get a lot of attention. And then like a friend of Mario, the guy that made Pi, is Peter Steinberger or something, that like did OpenClaw and just blew up and uses Pi internally. So they kind of failed to keep it quiet. It's got a really cool share feature for a session, so you can just like get a GitHub gist that renders like everything that happened in a particular session. I had a very funny thing happen to me this week where I was asking, I think it was the BLE Connect functionality. I sent off the prompt and switched to a different tab and came back to it later, and it says, okay, great, it works. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like, that's pretty cool that it just made it work. And I see these tests, and the tests make sense, but they're the only changes in the branch. Like, what's the deal? And so I looked back at the history, and it made all the changes, built it, and I don't know if it ran the tests or what, but it like hit a compaction where the LLMs only have so much context memory. And if you hit the limit, then it basically, I think, uses itself to summarize it down to a smaller amount. And then after it was like, so after it did the compaction, it said, what are all these extra changes? Let me delete them. So I had let it go off to fix, or to add BLE connections. It managed to add it, ran the test, passed the test, compacted, deleted all the changes to the code, did not rebuild, so when you ran the test, it still passed. It was just, I laughed out loud. It was just a hilarious thing to happen. So if you want to see what that is, in the Coding Agents and LLMs channel on the Adafruit Discord, which you can join at adafru.it/discord, I posted a link there of that session. I thought it was hilarious. So I'm trying to get displays working. Let me show you where we're at. So I'm going to just make the native simulator. So I'm really changing the way that I think about what I'm programming. When I think about I want to do X or Y, that's the next thing I think about is how do I need to figure out oh, come on. Sorry, you can't see my desktop anyway. How do I test it? No natives import, huh? Invalid board. Where? Oh, I'm in the wrong. I'm in the Raspberry Pi directory for some reason. This branch is called Zephyr Display 2 because I had like prompted it and it worked through the frame buffer system, and I ended up deciding I didn't want to do that. So I just threw it away and started a new branch. And I actually have another change on top of this one that uses LVGL to do all of the displayio compositing. But in the spirit of keeping changes small, that's coming later. I am thinking about it though, and I'm curious. I'm always curious. Like, oh, I wonder if we could just do it. Like once I had the testing set up, then. So let's do this. Actually, I think we want a new tab. Let's do a new tab so that we can just have two. Okay, so here is this. I'm going to stash this there. So this says Zephyr Display, and it's currently blank. I'm going to just keep above others so you can see it, because I'm going to do that. And now I want to go to todev 20. And now it started up CircuitPython. I don't think I can make it bigger, at least directly. So what we have here, it's probably pretty tiny on your screen, but we have CircuitPython available. And I have some debug prints that are going to the same place. Is that what I expect? Ooh, I crashed. Great. So I could try to fix that. But yeah, so I have native simulator working. It's not working perfectly yet, but that's where I'm at, is that we are rendering. And then if so here's a different board. This is an STM32H7B. I think if I just plug that in, is this long enough? Barely. I don't know if I have it. I have it set. Let me change the power jumper. I do not like jumpers on dev boards, but let's see if it'll work. I think it will. Yep. So there's. Let me switch so we can both see it better. There it is running on an actual screen. You'll notice Blinka is green. Blinka is green here. So there's like some byte ordering that I've got to fix before I actually get this checked in, but it's working pretty well. It wasn't too bad to bring up this screen. This other STM-H7 that I showed you, the 750, is trickier because it doesn't have very much internal flash. So that, yeah, brain. The other 750, I don't have booting correctly for some reason, and I haven't figured out why. It's more complicated because I have to use MCU boot, and it has to hand off, and it's not printing anything, and I'm not sure why. So I thought I'd just show the simulator here instead. So DCD asks, does Zephyr have crash debugging tools? So there's a couple things Zephyr has. One, if you just run west debug, it will automatically run on the device and attach a debugger. But because this is the native sim, we can actually just do GDB. So if we just do GDB, and we have to do the GDB thing where we do run wait ur-rt, and we don't need those. So what you can see is it started up automatically. Oh, and you can't see. Switch back. So it started up again. We have the native simulator output, and now I did our type, I did that, and now I'm getting getting the crash. So I've captured the crash in GDB. So this is another perk of the native simulator, is that it really is just a native binary. They play some tricks to isolate the Zephyr binary code from the like simulator harness. But it's also like a 32-bit binary running on a 64-bit machine, so that like your pointer sizes aren't changing. But still, it's quite cool. So now I have GDB open right where it crashed. We can see that it's doing TLSF malloc into SRAM 0 with a given size and search suitable block. So it's possible, if we look at this full thing, so it's just trying to run the REPL. And this assert fail is in TLSF-C. So if we pull up our, move this. So I'm trying Kate instead of Sublime Text and Zed, because both, well, I like Sublime Text. But because I'm doing multiple virtual desktops, I was hoping Kate would be better about kind of remembering stuff across those, although apparently Wayland has problems too. But Kate starts up really fast, and Zed does not. The Zed team wants a fast browser, but if you're starting the program up, it does a bunch of analysis up front to be responsive later. And I think that it's just not designed for the like, where I'm like more like, I just need to pop it up, do it and close it. Pop it up, do it and close it. And it's just like Zed is just like, you open it up, it spins up like all of the analysis servers and slows everything down for like, I don't know, 15 seconds. Because I'm opening giant trees of C code and stuff. And then it works, and it works fast, but it's like, I need something that starts up quicker. Sublime Text also starts up quicker too. But Kate, I hadn't used Kate in ages, but I also like, it does actually have like a diff view. So you can like look at this and say like, oh, okay, this is what's changed. Like I had to enable USB, which I don't know if I got it. I don't think it works still. I gotta get USB working for that. I don't know why these boards don't come with USB automatically working. But yeah, so I'm playing around with that. And I just gotta fix it some more. These JSON files are the ones from the Yodo players. They're just in this OG one. Okay, so why did TLSF crash? And I was meaning to do this quick open. And it's the one from here. And it's 317. Internal error, the second level bitmap is null. I don't know why that is. Search suitable block. This is why I do second level bitmap is null. So where are we? I've not actually seen this crash before. The other thing that I wanted to do, and maybe this is a good example of me showing how I like to work in parallel. So the other thing that I wanted to change in here that I thought I'd show off is right now the tests have to use, when I had to modify the way the native simulator display backend works for two reasons. One, to be able to capture to files, and two, to run headlessly. Because like if in a test I want to just run it headlessly, I don't want to have to actually, like I was actually like set it up, go off, and it's like popping up windows in front of me when I'm trying to do something else. So it's like, no, it needs to run headless. The way that it solved the problem is it used environment variables, which I was looking at going like, this is not what I want. So actually I need to check which version of, yeah. Keeping this all in context is hard. Enable headless display. So I'm gonna go here. I've got like, not only do I have 4 checkouts of CircuitPython, I've got 4 checkouts of Zephyr. Oh, and they're different. These are separate checkouts of Zephyr, not within the same work tree. Love it. Like, yeah. Let's just do, I gotta make a branch, push it, and pull it down into the other one. Although I think I can add local remotes, can't I? Maybe that's what I should do. So this is the left field one. What if I go over here and I say git add remote add left field, and it's in CircuitPython. How many up do I need to do? I'll just do it. Tannewt repos CircuitPython left field ports Zephyr. I think that'll work. Okay. Now I should be able to cherry pick it. No? I can't do it that way? That's the right commit, right? Anybody know the magic of git? Sorry. A local remote. Git remote add. Name and path. But why didn't I get commits? Why didn't I get that commit? Maybe because it's not on a branch. Let's put it on a branch. Headless. Okay. Now if I go back to OG and I fetch again, I get the new branch and I get perfect. Okay. Interesting. I don't get orphaned commits or something. Okay, so what I was trying to show is that, like, oh, I'm going to work on something. Like, I'm going to work on figuring out why this crash is happening. But the second thing I can do is say, the tests use environment variables, enable headless mode, and capture output. Instead, they should be command line flags. Change them. So that's an example of like, okay, I'm gonna like this debug crash thing is something I'm gonna test. Although the other thing I could do, and maybe I shouldn't do this because I just thought, well, if this is crashing, it's crashing once I put a character into the REPL. Like, I should add a test that does that. But the problem is that I'm already asked this one to modify the tests, so that's kind of a pain. I don't really want them working on the same file at the same time, like changing them out from under each other. So I will kind of like, that's why I have 4 different virtual desktops with 4 workspaces, so that I can have like 4 things working on at once. DCD, did I answer your crash debugging tools question? Basically, like, they facilitate using GDB. Like, for native sim, I just do it directly, but they also have like a helper for stuff on device. They have like a fancier crash handler too. It can be kind of tricky because sometimes when they catch a crash, you lose the backtrace. Hi, Hams Labs. Glad you could make it. Sorry you didn't get the memo. I wondered about core dumps and other snapshot tools. I think they can do core dumps. I've just never used them. I'm sure they've got more tools than that. So if you're just joining in the last few minutes, I normally stream at 2 p.m. Pacific, but I gotta stop streaming at 2:30 so I can get somewhere by 3. So I just started a little earlier, so the deep dive would be kind of normal hour-long length. And then the other housekeeping, besides the intro stuff, is that Tim is going to be streaming deep dive next week because I'll be out of town. Kids have no daycare next Friday, so we're going to do a long weekend, which will be fun. Okay, so it's working on the command line stuff. And command line flags are actually also really interesting because LLMs are really good at discovering command line flags because they know how to do -- help. So like if you're building a tool for an LLM, like you really need to make sure the help is really good. And in fact, for the native sim, the help is really good. So yeah, I don't know why SRAM 0 is crashing. I think we're giving it plenty of memory. The other thing that we could think about is that they do have a way of running native sim with address sanitizer. So one reason this crash could be happening is that there's a memory error. And address sanitizer would actually help us find memory errors, which could be really interesting. I'm kind of stalling to see if this finishes. If this finishes, I can tell it to add a test for this crash. I don't think that crash happens in the non-display world, but I'm not sure. I do have a test that does some input. But yeah, it's pretty wild at some point, like, oh, it's doing a build. It gets really wild when it's like a board on my desk is resetting because it like figured out how to talk over the serial. So one thing about this Pi is that it does not do any sort of permissions checking stuff. Like if you've used Claude Code and or Codex and it's like, oh, do you want to run this? Do you want to run that? Pi doesn't do that. It also, mine doesn't know how to web search. It does know how to curl, I think. So it can actually get to the web, but generally it's just searching the local directory for context. So let's see. Where is it at? Test failure cause. So yeah, it's running the tests and trying to get them working. I was debating, so another thing I merged in is the rotary IO stuff, which includes the ability to have a trace file as input to go with your simulation. And I was actually thinking what I should probably do is have that trace file include instantaneous markers that say, take a snapshot of the display here and here and here, which I think would be interesting too. Okay, so it says it's done. Although the test still failed. So it says now it uses flags in conf test. You added them to the driver. Updated the test docs. And it claims that the test passed. So I'm going to quit and do it myself. I'm going to make the native sim. No MCP tools or servers connected to the Pi agent. Nope. I think I have a few skills, but I don't think I ever see them run. Okay, so the bsim tests failed. These output tests are failing, and I'm seeing it pop up off screen. Although that's with test basics. So the display ones. Interesting. I wonder how big. I wonder if we're filling, like displayio itself is filling up our heap. Okay, so I'm gonna start a new session. So we were 8 failed, 8 passed, and 7 errors. So I'm just gonna say, fix the tests. RSbone says, I used Pi to write my web workflow CLI, Hotmark. I like the name Hotmark, and I've been meaning to look at it. Dan and I also were talking about maybe in CircuitPython 11, we'll change web workflow to be webdav, which somebody has pointed out. I don't know if it was you or not, but that was another thing where we're like, oh, you know what? An LLM would be really helpful for that. Like it's a protocol, just like USB IP, it's a protocol that's well documented and already exists. Like it's probably not too bad to just use an LLM to generate it. Fix the tests, and non-display tests should still be headless. Why webdav? Isn't that an MS thing people have been avoiding for years? I don't think it's an MS thing. I don't know. It's got like it's still got more support than. Yeah, it's an old thing, but it actually has like Dolphin on KDE has support. So I think the idea is that it just would it would have more support. I don't know what, I haven't looked at the Mac, but we could still change like all of the tools that we provide to use web workflow to just use webdav as well. So like circuitpython.org/code or code.circuitpython.org could use webdav and all that sort of thing. Okay, so now it's running PyTest. I don't think any of them crashed. Oh, it ran like more tests than what are in our test directory. And I did see stuff. I'm seeing windows pop up. You can't see them pop up because they're in the middle of the screen. But you can watch this flicker. That's when it's popping up windows. Since we're talking about screens, we got about 15 minutes left. So if you have questions, now's the time. But I got the new Dell. I don't remember exactly when I got it. I think I got it this week, maybe not. But I have the new big Dell, and you know what? I had it last week, but I didn't have it all organized. But I've been using it for longer, and I'm liking it. I've come to like that. I do feel like I have that like last little bit of space that I needed, and I adjusted like the KD scaling so it was like true scaling. So like the actual PPI of the display like informs how everything renders, and I did that. I was like, oh, everything's nice and clear now. And I like took the time I added a little script for the mouse tiler stuff so that like I could just pop this window. This window here is actually like a third of my screen or less now, which is pretty wild. I went down a rabbit hole about like DPIs of like video and stuff. So like the left-hand side here is not 1080p true pixels, but it's actually like in scaled pixels. Which maybe you can see, but I think it means that my font is a little bigger, which is fine. So let me know how you think that like the terminal is showing up. It seems like it's a little bit smaller area here for me, but I think it looks pretty good overall. So it's working on stuff. Oh, and I just saw that it did change. Yeah, so it's working. I'm watching the Sublime merge here. So it was doing some changes here. I really like Sublime merge, and the diff in Kate is not too bad either. You can see it's like changing stuff. Wait for readers is not in here. Managing the like different Zephyr versions is definitely kind of a pain. I think I'm just on the wrong version. I've got to figure out what version of Zephyr I'm running off of. And then of course, like I just made this other change that's like update the latest main. So I've got to I got to figure out a better way to have all my they're not even submodules of Zephyr because they use West, like Zephyr's manager, to like instead of submodules. But like it's even easier to forget to update those because you don't like if you git status them, just ignores it. It doesn't tell you like, hey, you forgot to update this. So yeah, it's kind of a pain. I've tried Beyond Compare, and I just, for some reason, didn't stick or didn't feel like... Sublime Merge feels quite modern, which I like. Hey, it looks better. Looks like it's doing better. So one thing that, if you're new to this stuff, so the bars here, this is my codecs. So I'm on the $200 codecs plan, although I applied, because I'm an open source person, I applied for the Claude one. So this is like my quota for a 5-hour window. This is my quota for the week, which 27% is like, I've been trying to really use it a lot. I've been trying to get that up. And then down here is actually, this is like estimated price, but it doesn't matter because I'm on a subscription. But then this is how much of the context window. So 40.3% of the context window. And then the auto is auto compact, which you don't really want to do because like I was saying, like it doesn't. Oh, it's doing the trailing. Is it just having, okay. Getting these tests reliable has been a pain. So I think the next step for me really is to make sure that I have the latest Zephyr module code and I've got the latest CircuitPython code that I'm based on, because I'm not actually sure what, if we look at my Git log, I'm based on February 24th, just a few days ago, but I had a separate fix for some flaky Zephyr test. So I'm probably just doing that. Here, focus on the, I can say focus only main display tests. But yeah, this is like more like I've been working in the last couple weeks, which is like, oh, I have to be like, oh, this is not the right direction, go this way. And then I would actually switch like, okay, like tiny bytes, start tracking Zephyr main. Dan approved it, but the boards don't all build, which is great. So let me show you. So I've switched off. I should have done that. Why didn't I test that? So now there's a make clean all, and then I should have the latest make all. So I think I showed this last week. But it runs it in parallel. And they share a job server. So it's failing pretty fast. But like my next step here is actually just opening up Pi and saying, fix the builds. Test it, build every board and make sure that it passes. The other way you could do it, which is a neat trick that I've started working with, is that Pi knows how to use the gh command pretty well. So what I could do, instead of saying like build every board and fix it here, if it's trickier, I could say, hey, the CI on this PR failed, and it will, should I just show you this? So if I say Pi, the CI for the PR on this failed, please find the logs and fix the board builds. So this is neat. We'll see if it works. So it's gonna get context, but it thinks that it's in. Okay, so it's in GitHub workflows now. It hasn't gone out to the gh command. So what I could do is be smarter about, oh look, because I ran it, I have build logs? I didn't even realize I had build logs. Get the build logs. All right, 5 more minutes. The build job server thing is checked in now. So that's nice. It went in with the GPIO input testing. Okay, so it doesn't look like it did. Local. Okay, interesting. So it wasn't able to... Really? I'll just copy this URL. Paste it back. So now it's able to do like GH stuff, which is very cool. I've also used it for doing a first pass responding to reviewer feedback. So like one thing that Dan said on one of my PRs was like, hey, like these copyrights should probably be updated. It's like, that's so tedious, like 7 files that need different copyrights. So I was like, I wonder. And it said, Pi, like, Dan just got back to me on my PR to address the comments. And it did, and it, like, went to go push it. And I was like, wait. Like, I escaped it. I want to do that first. So this is kind of how I'm working. It's weird and different. Like, okay, this one's going. Let me go back here. It's still going. If something runs too long... I will probably like tell it to stop. It's figuring out like, I think the pixels are different. Now it's not popping up windows anymore, which is good. So I think it's getting closer. Okay, let's just quit that. I can always resume it. So let's figure out where we're at. What does make tests do? Summa bsim worked. I don't need them. Tests. Zephyr display. Okay. Do we think that it's going to crash still? Is that still something we want to fix? Let's see if it... Oh, I wonder if that caused a problem. Okay, so now I've got my display. And if I press the button, hey, it doesn't crash anymore. That's good. I wonder if it fixed something. So since I escaped it, it didn't finish telling me what it fixed. But let's take a look at what. So that looks okay. Okay, I've got 1 more minute. I should wrap up. So that has been, it's not responding because it's not hooked up. That's another thing we could fix. All right, I'll wrap up because I'm out of time. But that gives you an idea of what I've been working on and how I've been working. Display support is coming along and having all right. All right, this has been another Deep Dive with Scott. Thank you all for jumping in a little early today so we could get our hour in. Preemptive thanks to DCD, who usually does time codes. So thanks to that. If you're ever on YouTube later and you see those time codes, that's because DCD does those. If you want to support me, you can go to adafruit.com, purchase hardware there. I'm just turning off my overhead that didn't work. Next week, thanks to Tim for filling in for me for Deep Dive. I should be back in 2 weeks' time. I don't know what the date of that is, but yeah. Keep an eye out on the CircuitPython repo for all the changes that I'm doing here. If you want to join us on Discord, you can go to the URL adafru.it/discord and to get asked to get added to the Deep Divers role, which, for example, today I pinged to say, hey, I'm starting 30 minutes early, so that people could try to hop in a little earlier. So that's it. Thank you all. Hello, Relic SC. Hi and bye. Thank you, Tyeth, HamsLab, DCD, and RSBone as well. Have a great weekend, and I will see you on the Discords next week, but no deep dive from me next week. Instead, Tim will be deep diving in my place. Bye, everybody.